Hello YouTube, today I'm going to show you how to face the Philidor by understanding the traps in the opening. So after e4 to e5, we're going to play knight f3, they're going to play d6, this begins the Philidor, and the first move of this opening is actually really critical. You want to play d4 and you want to put immediate pressure on the e5 square. So already we're threatening to win a pawn. They really either need to exchange or they need to defend this pawn with the move knight to d7. Now a lot of people like to maintain this pawn on the e5 square for as long as possible. They like to play the move knight to d7, in which case we should play bishop c4 and we should start putting immediate pressure on black's position. This actually makes it very difficult for black not to play the move e takes d4, because if he tries some other move order, at some point some combination of knight g5 and e takes d4 is going to take place. If, for instance, we play the move knight f6, now this g5 square is available for the knight. But the way we take advantage of this is first we capture on e5, we play d captures e5, then if d takes e5 we play knight g5, and there is no defending against this threat of knight takes f7 because there is no d6 to d5. Another way that this can happen is they can play knight takes e5, in which case we simply play knight takes e5, d takes e5, bishop takes f7 check, and now if king takes f7, the queen on d8 is hanging. Now they do get the queen back. After queen d8, they're going to play bishop b4, queen back to d2, bishop takes d2, knight takes d2, but as you can see, white actually has a major advantage in this position. White's up a clear pawn, and white's doing much better than black, since black's king is actually very unsafe. So those are a couple very basic traps if they play knight on g to f6. Well, what else could they play? They could try the move bishop to e7, and now they're covering the g5 square, and we have two very basic traps again. We have this move d captures e5, again seems to work. If we play d captures e5 and they respond with d captures e5, the d5 square is still open for the queen, so we can simply play queen d5, threatening queen f7 mate. Then after knight h6, bishop h6, they would have to give up that knight and castle simply so they don't get mated. If they play gf6, queen f7 is mate. So the other way that they could try this is they could of course play knight takes e5, in which case we have knight takes e5, d takes e5, queen h5 is hitting the e5 square and hitting the f7 square, which again wins an entire pawn, and white is going to have a huge advantage after winning that pawn. So another way that people try to handle this is they try to cover both the d5 square and cover the g5 square by using pawn moves. And of course this is also very bad, because eventually white will be able to break through by playing d captures e5. So if, for example, they try something like c6, we would simply make a developing move, we could castle, and now really at this point they need to play e takes d4, because if they play something continually passive, like if they play pawn to h6, now we can start breaking through with de5, de5, bishop f7 check is now possible because they've developed nothing, king f7, knight takes e5, and they can't respond with knight takes e5 because they would lose their queen. And if they move their king away from the g6 square, we're simply going to play knight g6, winning a rook. For example, king e6, knight g6. And now if they continue with rook h7, we could actually play e5, king back to f7, e6 check, king takes, queen check, king over, takes, queen takes h7 is huge decisive advantage white. This was all a computer line. Actually, right after knight takes e5, if we go back to this move, knight takes e5, the computer just absolutely loves white's position here. It's something like +7 or +8 for white. So making a whole bunch of pawn moves is also not a very good idea for black. So what's one other trap that you need to know if you're going to be playing against the Philidor? Well, of course you need to know what to do if they play e captures d4. So another move order that you can reach these Philidor-like positions from is, for example, after knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, you can reach it from the Hungarian. After bishop e7, you can have d4, d6, castles, e takes d4, knight takes d4 is another very possible way to get there. And of course, you could also just get here from the straight Philidor move order. You could get here from e4 to e5, pawn to d6, pawn to d4, and then they could simply play e takes d4, and then we could have knight takes d4 being relatively the same thing. Knight f6, knight c3, bishop e7, now bishop c4, knight c6, and we could get to this same position. And there's one more trap that I really love here that you have to remember if you want to play against the Philidor. You can castle, castles, h3 is normal, rook e8, rook e1, and then this mistake, knight to d7, and I'll always remember this cute little tactic. You can play bishop takes f7 check, king f7, knight e6. The point being that the queen on d8 is trapped, so if they don't take the knight, they're losing their queen on d8, and if they do take the knight, they're getting mated in two. If they play king takes e6, we're simply going to have queen to d5, king f6, and then queen f5 is mate. So that's understanding how to play against the Philidor by understanding the traps in the opening, and that should give you a very good rudimentary repertoire against the Philidor defense, and also a rudimentary repertoire against the Hungarian defense, because they can transpose into each other. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something new about chess. Please like this video, please subscribe, click on your notification icon, and thank you very much for watching.